thanks so much for joining me and welcome to our viewers who are watching this. If you don't know me, my name is Krystle DiCristofalo and I am the co-founder and CEO of My Ivy Education, a boutique college counseling and academic consulting company that's worked with hundreds of students and helps high schoolers get into top colleges like the Ivy Leagues and Stanford with leading acceptance rates in the industry. So today, I'm so excited because we'll be talking with a current My Ivy Education parent about her experience, why her family chose us, and what they love about our services. I'm really excited for this conversation, you guys. I've worked with this family for years now, and it all started with a single Google search. So let's go back to that moment. What brought you to reach out?
Yeah, I remember it so clearly. I was researching the Johns Hopkins CTY SET designation, and my son was pushing himself so hard to earn it. I mean, he was only 13 and he kept striving to hit this goal. And honestly, I felt overwhelmed and kind of guilty because I was wondering, if that designation would actually be beneficial for him. So I couldn't really find any real information on it until I came across a video on YouTube where you talked about it. And that was the first time I felt like someone truly understood what we were navigating.
That designation and any of the kinds of awards and honors that are out there that students really hype up and want to get can be such pressure points. And it's honestly so under discussed. I absolutely remember getting your message. It was really clear your family was navigating something special, but also intense. And 98% of students succeed when they have a mentor who really gets them and gets what they're going through. But for so many families, it's almost impossible to find that kind of mentorship from someone who's been through the process themselves. I had been through exactly what you guys were looking for and had helped other people with it. So that's the crux of what we found in my Ivy education on creating those kinds of connections to guide students and their parents in exactly the ways I myself wished had existed when I was applying to my alma mater, Columbia. And we also build those competencies through different kinds of options. Like we just had our suite of AP prep boot camps for the upcoming AP exams, and your son was in one of those. How did he enjoy it?
So he thought it was very helpful. He had been doing some self prep in advance and taking the practice test and whatever. And so after that, then it did teach him he said it taught him a lot of good test taking skills.
I'm sure it's going to go fantastically. And for people who weren't able to make the live sessions, we do have the recordings available. So please feel free to head over to our website and you can be able to purchase those. And we're also gearing up for our summer courses, which will be structured somewhat similarly to our AP boot camps. We're doing 6-week summer classes on all sorts of topics like essay writing, but also marine biology or paleontology, options that aren't available elsewhere readily for engaged and curious students. So we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So exciting. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so before reaching out to you, we had actually already worked with one of the big expensive companies that, I won't name, but on paper it looked really great. Their team was filled with former admissions officers, they had really polished materials, and there were all these grand promises, but in reality, the experience felt really generic. Like there was no personalization and no strategy. It just felt really transactional.
That's the piece so many families miss, and for completely understandable reasons. As you say, it looks great on paper, but it's not just about even having experience. It's about creating a relationship and a plan that actually fits the student. Experience is important, don't get me wrong, but it's about scaffolding successes by providing the right level of challenge and the nurturing the student needs to get to the point where they're able to rack up wins academically and in their extracurriculars, which builds their confidence so much. I'm also glad that you brought up the former admissions officers because this is a sticking point where so many parents can get trapped. I've seen it so many times because it sounds great, right? Of course, former admissions officers would know all about the college application process, right? But in practice, their knowledge can unfortunately fall out of date within just one admission cycle because what colleges are looking for can change drastically in a matter of months. To combat that, we speak with current admissions officers at top schools to get a sense of which new values and keywords the colleges want to see from their applicants in each new admission cycle. Moreover, admissions officers obviously know what they want to see for the specific college they're reading for, but they don't necessarily know how to guide students to become those kinds of applicants from the ground up. Think of them as the owners of an art gallery. They know what artworks they want to bring into the gallery to match their specific aesthetic and preferences. However, they aren't necessarily painters or sculptors themselves. So, at my IB Education, we see ourselves not as gallery owners, but as curators or art instructors who guide our students step by step to become the masters we know they can be to match exactly the accolades that college admissions officers tell us their schools love to see on applications. So that's why our team members are comprised of people who know exactly how to get students to that point, and then how to craft their story with unbeatably deep authenticity, precision, and elegance in application essays when the time comes to cut through the noise of tens of thousands of nearly identical applications, capture these admissions officers' attention, stand out, get their admissions officers to fight for them because they are so gripped by how they tell their stories. That's why these companies that tout all the former admissions officers they have on their staff should raise some serious eyebrows. Former admissions officers aren't usually professional writers who are excellent at this particular craft and are award-winning in this field. We are.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I've seen that, in the assistance with the summer programs that you've helped him with already. Going back to when we started this journey, in the beginning, my son was super skeptical. Like for every meeting, I had to nudge him to participate. But over the past few years, his mind shift has completely shifted. Now he says things like, "Oh, we need to ask Krystle," or "Let's see what Krystle thinks." So he has totally forgotten me. Like I'm just the person. I'm just the taxi that gets him to where he's going. And, now everything is, "Oh, we need to see what Krystle says." So the trust that you've built with him has changed everything.
I'm honestly so honored to hear that. Sometimes the kids don't want to listen to their parents, but they do really value what we have to say, which I am so honored for and do not take lightly. And that kind of transformation is exactly why we believe in long-term action-based mentorship. Because when students feel seen and supported, they open up in ways that change the trajectory of their journey. And I love working with all these kids. It's always such a joy to see a kid's world open up when we lay out the concrete building blocks of how they can achieve their goals. So many kids have so much that they genuinely want to achieve, but they just don't know how to go about making that national and international impact. And parents are often just as lost through no fault of their own. These top colleges like the Ivy Leagues want to see not just achievement, but genuine passion behind that achievement. So when we get the kids doing exactly what they love and provide them the stepping stones to do so at the highest level, that's when they truly are becoming the kinds of applicants top colleges want to see and enjoying themselves, building their self-esteem, and becoming great people along the way. The most important part, of course. Neither what top colleges want to see nor what our approach entails is just about jumping through hoops or checking boxes. And the kids feel that and really have fun with everything we're working on. With every single family I work with, the kids are really engaged and are drivers of the process. It's about meeting them where they're at and providing them with opportunities to do what they love to do at the highest level. It's never about a parent or counselor taking over everything and dragging the kid along with them. I'm so proud of our students' acceptances to top schools, but I'm just as proud, if not more so, of how engaged and motivated we see our kids become.
When started his journey, he was, I would say, lukewarm with what he was doing. And, as it's evolved and as he ages, his interests age more and they adapt. And so the way that the process has adapted to his changes. And so now he is all in, he really believes in what he's doing. He wants to make a change with his passion project. And, he's really thriving. And I'm confident that he would not be in the same place if we didn't have you as a mentor. One moment I'll never forget. We were within days of the application deadline for one of the top private schools in the country. And I remember at our tour, they said the initial acceptances were actually being sent out that Friday. And I honestly thought it was all over. There's no way my kids are getting in. But I remember I called you, I was frantic, and you calmed me down. You walked us through the entire process, helped them with their test prep, their essays, and their interviews. And, after a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears, somehow all three kids got in.
I'm so happy that we were able to achieve that working together. And you would not believe how many parents tell us similar stories all the time. All three of your kids got in because of that specific targeted strategy that we built together, designed to exponentially increase their chances, even against the odds. And that's where a tailored full picture strategy really makes a difference. Even when the odds seem stacked. I'll tell you about another family that I work with where the son's dream school was Brown. And when the mom heard that, she laughed and she told him, good luck, because of course, Brown's acceptance rate is a measly 5%. Yeah, we got him in, and he's thriving there right now. So my attitude is to always, no matter what, find a way, the right path for each student to maximize their individual chances of getting into where they want to go.
So, to speak to that a little bit, when we were earlier in this process and he was working with that other company counselor, and the counselor was like, where do you want to go to college? And he said, Wharton. And she was basically like, good luck. And this is his counselor that we're paying, significant amount of money to achieve those goals. And, because of his demographics, um, she basically was trying to steer him in a different direction. So from a very early age, I think that was what, eighth grade? She was squashing his dreams and already saying, okay, what's plan B? Something I didn't expect, but really appreciated was how much my kids learned about how to take tests. When they were prepping for the school's entrance exams, you gave them strategies they still use to this day on their school tests. Things like how to break down a reading section or how to manage time across different subjects. It stuck with them and really catapulted their performance in their grades today.
That's one of our goals, and I'm so thrilled to hear that it's something that has stuck with them and that they can still implement today because I'm always telling the people I work with, this is about building skills that will last them through high school, through college, all the way into their career. Test prep may sound like just about scoring high on one exam, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It's about building cognitive tools, confidence, strategies, and adaptability that help students thrive long after admissions are over.
Right, exactly. And like you said, it wasn't just about teaching to the test. It was about helping them understand how to learn. And that's been such a gift, especially as they've moved on to more advanced coursework.
I'm so glad to hear that.
So, one of the biggest wins has been watching my son grow into his passions. As you know, he's been admitted to some very prestigious summer programs over the past few years. But I think our proudest moment was a few months ago when he was accepted to the highly competitive Yale Young Global Scholars Summer Program. And not only did he get in, but he got in as a sophomore, which is incredibly rare. But beyond that, he's been developing his nonprofit, learning how to write grants, and this summer, he's actually starting an internship with a NASA contractor. All this, and he's only 16. I mean, the resume that he's already built is so much more impressive than my employees amongst my businesses. It's crazy. And so that kind of alignment between interest and opportunity is, I think, because of the foundation that you built with him.
That is so wonderful to hear, and that's what we help our kids do. And I really want to emphasize your son is making some really, really pivotal impact with his nonprofit, with his interests in extracurriculars. He really has grown to exemplify my core belief that so many kids want to achieve something huge and just don't necessarily know how to from the ground up. And so we make that impact together. And when we work together and put together that plan, and give them the stepping stones of what to do and how to achieve it, kids can do such incredible things at such a high level. And that's what happens when we start early and stay aligned with the student's core identity. It's not just about checking boxes, it's about building momentum and the confidence and skills to not just get into top colleges, but succeed there at the schools and in life, which we're seeing him already doing with this path that we've built together.
Yeah, it's great. And another thing that's really stood out is the community that you've created. So he's now collaborating with students across the country through your network. They're working together on projects that are actually meaningful and building relationships that I expect will last beyond high school. I mean, they'll be working on a certain project, and then I've seen him circle back months later and just ask them for random stuff like regular acquaintances. So they're comparing, where they're at in this cycle from a student level, or, there's even one girl that he calls and asks for girl advice for his girlfriend. So it's a great network that they're building.
Oh my gosh, I love to hear that. And it can also really help uplift the students personally and then also in terms of their resumes. One thing that you and I have been talking about is how we were introducing him a few years ago to another of my students who runs her own nonprofit as well. Last year, this student was able to win with my nomination a really big, significant nationwide community service award. And they actually named nonprofit and his work in the little description that they have on their website. And so that is going to help so much when we nominate him for that same award this year, now that he's a little bit older, just like she was when she got the award. And so I think that's going to be super meaningful. And I am so looking forward to seeing the results of that. And everything that you're talking about is super intentional. Our students are exceptional. I am always just in awe of everything that we're achieving together. And when they connect with one another, they go further together and can really maximize their joint impact. We love connecting like-minded kids. And I believe that you become like the five people that you are closest to and that you spend the most time with. And so, if we can expose these kids to communities of people who really get them, who are their tribe, they all uplift one another, which is so beautiful to see. I would also note that we have additionally curated our wonderful My Ivy Education Family Network, where we have so many parents who love us because we help their kids get into their dream schools. And many of these parents work at Fortune 500 companies or run their own high-profile cutting-edge startups. And they often offer bespoke internships just for My Ivy Education students because they want to give back.
Mhm.
That's another way that we can provide our students with the best of the best opportunities that nobody else has and dig deep to ensure they stand out from the crowd and gain in-depth real-world experiences along the way, because that's what it's all about. The kids come away from these collaborations and internships ready to make real contributions to their fields. And colleges love to see their newfound knowledge, confidence, and strengths. The name brands of different summer programs and awards can be really powerful on applications, but it's because of the skills that underlie that, where colleges know the students are actually becoming able to tangibly contribute to their fields. And that's what it's all about, really gaining the ability to be a superstar in whatever field you're interested in, not just doing the window dressing to make it look that way, but really having that foundation underneath.
Well, and to circle back to the network that you've built, I've noticed as they've gotten older, it's the school that they go to now is very competitive, and very welcoming. It's very symbiotic, but it is very competitive. And you would think that they you would think that they're all of the same common goal, which of course they are. However, what I've really noticed, especially this year, as he's a sophomore moving into junior year, obviously it gets more and more competitive, and everybody's holding in their secrets, like they don't want to share their babysitter names whenever they're younger. Right now it's like, oh, everybody's got their own secret weapon for their college counselor, right? So it's this whole competitive mentality, which is great. But I mean, he calls me all the time and he's like, "Hey mom, I need you to take this video down." Or because, from the summer programs, how we had to he would have to create the videos and post them online, or he had his website or his LinkedIn or whatever. So all these things, he's like, I'm getting bullied at school. Like they're really, and he means bullied, like he's not really getting bullied, but people are um joking with him about it. And so he's feeling self-conscious because, he's up here, and I don't think that it's intentional that they're trying to bring him down here, but he doesn't like that attention. And so having that alternate network where he can thrive, and he's not going to receive that kind of feedback, is very welcoming, because that's kind of like his safe space. And even for our younger girls, they see it too, because they're on some of that online presence. And so they're like, Mom, please, can you take it down? Like I'm getting the kids are harassing me. So it's great that there's that safe space in their network of their like-minded peers. So it's not just collaborating on projects. I think that it really is a extra emotional support that they need right now, because everything's changing, and they have a lot going on, and it's such a stressful time. So it's great that they have those peers to rely on.
Wow, that was really powerful. And I'm so glad that you shared that with me because that is something that can so easily drag a really otherwise fantastic, motivated, super accomplished student down, which is that unfortunately, in many cases, the school environment is created to basically kind of flatten out all the students, put them on a very level playing field. And so the students can feel that. And sometimes it's easy for them to feel like they need to poke fun at someone who is running a nonprofit and changing the world in all sorts of really impactful ways, or is applying for a contest where maybe you have to film a video and put it on YouTube and put yourself out there. Even parents try to bring down other parents. I have literally seen sometimes parents frantically texting me saying that they just heard something from other parents about what they should have been doing, that now it's way too late for them to change anything about that, how they needed to have a completely different strategy for campus tours or connecting with the colleges their student is interested in. And now these parents are in 12th grade and they feel like they've done something wrong just because another parent is unfortunately trying to fearmonger about the process, probably to kind of try and trim down the competition a little bit. It's very sad that that happens, but it is a byproduct of the uber competitive, decreasing single digit acceptance rates at these top colleges where everyone wants a piece of the pie and there isn't enough to go around. Of course, we all know that there are so many phenomenal colleges out there, but when your kid wants this one specific institution that has the best course or tutelage in some specific area that they really want to go into, of course, you're going to do anything and everything to get them in. So, unfortunately, that can manifest itself in these negative ways, like you're saying. And I work with, like your son, some of the smartest young people in America. And they are just really unique kids. Each one of them is different and has their own passions and areas that they want to get involved with and help shape in the world around them. And so it's really easy for them to become targets for other youth who are not as motivated as that and who don't understand the courage that it takes to make a stand and try and make a difference. And so I absolutely love introducing our students to one another and helping them build those friendships with people who are going to understand where they're coming from, that they want to actively work towards their goals even at this young age. And I'm so thrilled to hear that he's been able to build those relationships because it's so easy for these smart, accomplished kids to feel kind of isolated because they are shooting for something that is basically the top 1% of society, which can get kind of lonely. And so I think it's so important that they feel supported and that with everything that they're doing, there doesn't come this sort of unfortunate pulling down from the bottom when they're working their butts off to get to the top of what they're doing because they truly believe in it and they truly want to have that impact.